It has been nearly 3 decades since the tragic car crash that took the life of Princess Diana, and even today, many questions remain unanswered. For years, people have speculated about what really happened that night in the Paris tunnel. Now, a shocking new testimony has brought those questions back into the spotlight. A retired French firefighter named Xavier Doan, who was one of the very first people to arrive at the crash scene, has finally broken his silence. According to him, what happened that night was not just an accident, and the final words of Princess Diana may prove it. Doan says that when he reached the wrecked car, he found Diana alive and semi-conscious in the back seat. Despite her injuries, she was speaking, and what she said shook him to the core. She whispered, "They planned this." Those 4 words have the power to change everything we thought we knew. Doan claims he included her words in his original report, but that report mysteriously disappeared, and he was told never to talk about it. For 27 years, he stayed quiet. But now, in poor health and nearing the end of his life, he says he cannot stay silent anymore. He wants the world to know what Diana really said in her final moments. That night in August 1997 was supposed to be just another evening for the people of Paris, but everything changed when a black Mercedes carrying Princess Diana, her partner, Dodi Fade, and their driver Henry Paul crashed into a pillar inside the Alma tunnel. The crash was sudden and brutal. Dodi and the driver were killed instantly. Diana, however, was still alive when help arrived. That's a fact that many official reports have confirmed. But what happened next has long been a source of mystery and debate. Paramedics worked on Diana at the scene for over an hour before taking her to a hospital. Strangely, they did not go to the nearest hospital, which was just 5 minutes away. Instead, they took a longer route, and even stopped the ambulance for several minutes just a short distance from the emergency room. Experts say this is highly unusual for a trauma case. In emergencies, every second counts. One anonymous paramedic told a local newspaper, "I've never seen anything like it. It was as if we weren't in a hurry." By the time Diana reached the hospital, she had gone into cardiac arrest. Doctors tried to save her, but it was too late. Many believe that if she had been taken to the hospital sooner, she might have survived, but the strange delays and missing records are just the beginning of what some believe is a much larger cover-up. According to Doan and others who were there was another car involved in the crash, a mysterious black vehicle that was seen speeding out of the tunnel moments after the accident. Several eyewitnesses, including tourists and local drivers, reported seeing the car leave the scene without stopping. One even captured blurry footage showing headlights disappearing into the night. That car was never found, and it was never mentioned in the final investigation report. Some believe it may have clipped Diana's car, causing it to lose control. But why was this detail ignored? Why did investigators fail to follow up on such an important clue? Doan believes it's because the truth was too dangerous. He says they never looked for it, because if they found it, they'd have to explain it. That statement alone raises serious concerns about how the crash was handled, and who might have wanted the truth to remain hidden. The mystery deepens when we look at the letter Diana wrote 2 years before her death. In 1995, she gave a handwritten note to her trusted butler, Paul Burrell. In the letter, she wrote, "This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure, and serious head injury." She feared for her life and believed someone was trying to get rid of her. That letter was not released until years later, but when it came to light, it shocked the world. Some dismissed it as paranoia, but others saw it as a warning, one that sadly came true. Diana was deeply unhappy during her final years in the royal family. She spoke openly about feeling watched, betrayed, and silenced. Friends say she often talked about being in danger. One even recalled her saying, "I know too much. I've seen too much, and I'm in the way." If this was true, who might have wanted her gone, and why? These questions have led many to wonder if there was more to the crash than we've been told. Could intelligence agencies have played a role? Former MI6 officer Richard Tomlinson claimed that British intelligence had previously considered using tunnel car crashes as a way to eliminate foreign targets. He said the method was disturbingly similar to what happened to Diana. The government quickly denied his claims, but they added fuel to the fire. And what about the driver? Henry Paul? Official reports say he was drunk at the time of the crash, but security footage from the Ritz Hotel shows him walking steadily, tying his shoes and speaking clearly, not the behavior of someone who is severely intoxicated. Some experts believe the toxicology reports may have been tampered with. Others point out that Paul was carrying a large amount of cash that night, far more than his salary would explain. Was he working for someone? Was he set up? These questions remain unanswered. But perhaps the most troubling detail of all is the white Fiat Uno. Small fragments of glass and paint from a Fiat Uno were found on Diana's car, proving there was contact. Investigators searched thousands of vehicles, but the one that mattered was never found. One possible suspect was James Anderson, a well-known paparazzo who owned a white Fiat Uno and had a history of following Diana. Friends said he told them he was in Paris the night of the crash. Later, he denied it. He repainted his car and replaced a taillight that matched the debris found at the scene. Still, no charges were filed. In 2000, Anderson was found dead, burned inside his car in a remote forest. The death was ruled a suicide, but many believe he was silenced. As one investigator said, it looked like a message. As the investigation into Princess Diana's death continued, more strange facts started to come out, making the official story look more and more incomplete. Many people began to believe that this was not just a tragic accident, but something much bigger, a planned event involving powerful people. The strange behavior of the ambulance, the missing reports, and the mystery cars are only part of the puzzle. But one of the most talked about pieces of evidence came from inside the palace walls, a letter written by Diana herself. In this letter, she expressed deep fear for her life. She believed that her ex-husband or people connected to the royal family wanted to kill her by causing a car crash. In the letter, she even described how it would happen, a problem with the car's brakes and a serious head injury. And shockingly, that is exactly how she died. When the letter was finally shared with the public after her death, many people could not believe how accurate it was. Some officials said it was just a coincidence, but for Diana supporters and the public, it looked like proof that she had been warning the world all along, and no one listened. There were other strange things, too. For example, the path the car took that night was not the fastest route to their destination. Diana and Dodi had planned to go to his apartment, but the driver took a longer road that led them into the Alma tunnel, the very place where the crash happened. Why take a longer, more dangerous route? Some reports said Dodi had suggested that road to avoid the paparazzi. But if the driver was really drunk, as the official reports claimed, why would he be taking special paths or following instructions clearly? That detail didn't make sense to a lot of people. Then there were the questions about who decided that. Henry Paul should drive the car in the first place. He wasn't supposed to be on duty that night. He was called back suddenly and given the job of driving Diana and Dodi. There were other drivers available, so why him? And why was he carrying so much cash? These questions never got clear answers. The more people looked into the case, the more it seemed that key details were being ignored or hidden. Another major question is why the white Fiat Uno, a car proven to have made contact with Diana's vehicle, was never found. Investigators admitted that paint and glass from a Fiat Uno were found on the crashed Mercedes. That means this car was part of the crash. Yet, after checking thousands of similar vehicles, they claimed they couldn't find the right one. Many believe that was simply not true. And when the name James Anderson came up, a photographer known for chasing Diana, things got even stranger. He owned a white Fiat Uno. He was known to follow Diana. His friends said he told them he was in Paris that night. Later, he changed his story. He also changed the color of his car and replaced a broken light. It all seemed too convenient. Then, just 3 years after Diana's death, Anderson was found dead in a shocking way. His body was found burned inside his car in the middle of a forest. The official cause was suicide, but the way it happened was strange. Many people believed he had been silenced because he knew too much. Some said it was a message to others who might speak out. The fact that the one man who might have seen everything died in such a mysterious way only made people more suspicious on top of everything else. There were rumors that Diana was pregnant at the time of her death. Dodi Fade's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, strongly believed that Diana was expecting a child. He said this was the reason why powerful people wanted her gone. They didn't want the mother of a future king having a baby with a Muslim man. Some letters written by Diana seemed to show that she was in a serious relationship with Dodi. She had told her friends that she was very happy and ready to start a new life. There were even suggestions that she might be planning to marry Dodi. If she had been pregnant, and if she had married him, it would have caused huge problems for the royal family. Some people think this was the real reason why she was silenced. Official tests claimed she was not pregnant, but there were questions about the blood samples. Were they even really hers? And why were those test results released so quickly? After her death? Many people felt that these answers came too fast and were meant to shut down the rumors before they could grow. Even some members of the jury at the inquest years later said they had doubts about the pregnancy claims. The more layers people uncovered, the more it seemed like every part of that night had unanswered questions. Why did the ambulance take so long? Why did it stop just before reaching the hospital? Why was the driver called back suddenly? Why was Diana's final message, "They planned this," never included in any official report? Why was the Fiat Uno never found? Why did the photographer who may have been involved die so mysteriously? And most of all, why was Diana not better protected, even though she had warned people that her life was in danger? These are not small questions. They are big, important questions. And yet, for more than 25 years, they have been pushed aside, explained away, or simply ignored. For many people, that doesn't feel like justice. It feels like something was covered up. Something that powerful people didn't want the world to know. And now, with Xavier Doan finally speaking out, the story has been shaken again. His voice adds weight to the idea that Diana's death was not an accident. He had nothing to gain from speaking now. He's retired, very sick, and has nothing left to lose. That gives his words more meaning. He says he heard her speak. He held her hand. He saw that she was alive. And he remembers what she said. They planned this. Those words stayed with him for 27 years. And he believes they are the key to everything. If Diana really did say that, then we have to ask, who are they? Who would have the power to plan something like this, and why would they want her gone? This is where the story goes from a tragedy to something much darker. Some believe the people responsible may have been part of intelligence agencies like MI6 or even connected to the royal family itself. That sounds like a movie plot, but the more you dig into the facts, the more it seems possible. Richard Tomlinson, a former MI6 officer, said that the agency had plans in the 1990s for how to stage a car crash to kill a foreign leader. He said the plans looked very similar to what happened to Diana. The government denied everything, but Tomlinson stood by his claims. He said he was being silenced too. Even Lord Stevens, who led the official British investigation into Diana's death, admitted that some things in the case just didn't add up. He said some evidence went cold too quickly. He said the driver, Henry Paul, had contact with intelligence services. But in the end, his report still said the crash was just a tragic accident. Many people were disappointed with that conclusion. It felt like more of the same. Another official report that told the public not to ask questions, not to believe the rumors, and not to push for more answers. As time passed, many people began to accept the official story because they felt there was no other option. But the story never truly faded. People continued to investigate, to ask questions, and to search for answers. Documentaries, books, news articles, and eyewitness accounts kept Diana's story alive. And now, with the testimony of Xavier Doan, the firefighter who was with Diana in her final moments, the world is listening again. His words are powerful not because they are dramatic, but because they feel real. He had nothing to gain, and yet he chose to speak. That alone is something we should not ignore. Don't said Diana wasn't panicking. She wasn't screaming. She was calm but focused. She wanted to say something. And what she said was, "They planned this." Those words don't sound like confusion or fear. They sound like a message, a final warning, a cry for truth. If Diana really believed someone wanted to harm her, and if she had written letters, told friends, and even spoken those words at the end of her life, shouldn't that have been enough to spark a serious, deep investigation? Many people believe the answer is yes, but that the investigation never really happened, not the way it should have. Instead, important voices were ignored, evidence was lost, timelines were changed, and a story that could have changed the world was quietly buried. But the truth has a way of coming back. And every time someone speaks, every time a witness comes forward or a document is uncovered, the silence begins to break. What really happened to Princess Diana in that tunnel in Paris? Was it a tragic accident? Or was it the perfect plan carried out by people who believed they were above the law? In the end, we may never know every detail, but the more we listen to people like Xavier Doan, the more we look at the strange facts, the unanswered questions, and the pieces that don't fit, the more we realize that this is not just a conspiracy theory. This is a story full of mystery, sadness, and a deep need for justice. Diana was one of the most beloved women in the world. She changed lives. She gave hope to millions, and she deserved better. At the very least, she deserved the truth. And so do we? If her final words were truly, "They planned this," then we owe it to her memory to find out who they were and why they were never held responsible. This isn't just about the past, it's about the future. Because if something like this can happen to someone as powerful and loved as Princess Diana, then it can happen to anyone. That is why the truth still matters. That is why her voice, even now, still echoes through time. And maybe, just maybe, the world is finally ready to hear it.